the ballpark projections shooting all the way down to forever, and you're saying the market's falling down to below 500 points. It provides you with a conservative projection, which is safer. So at the moment, Sentient Trader is using these two intersections that it has calculated over here. Let me clear my whiteboard, which seems to be walking again. Sentient Trader has found an intersection over here, and it's found an intersection over there, and it is combining them, and it is saying the midpoint of these two intersections is over here, roughly over here, and therefore it is creating a projection from that point to there and beyond, let me try and get this right, to something like that. It is therefore saying that that projection is where it sees the 18-month cycle being in terms of time and in terms of price. Okay? So, what is that projection? Does Sentient Trader use that projection? Yes, it does. Sentient Trader calls that a projection a refined FLD projection. Why a refined FLD projection? Because the half span and full span moving average process that was presented in the Profit Magic Stock Transaction Timing book was developed in his later work into the FLD. I believe it was developed, it morphed itself, if you like, into the FLD aspect of his cyclic theory. And his half span and full span intersection projection disappeared completely from the cycles course material. It wasn't presented in there at all. Because I love Profit Magic Stock Transaction Timing, and I love the idea of the half span and full span intersections and creating projections on the basis of it, I included it in Sentient Trader. It is now called the triad because there are three lines, and intersections that are generated as a result of the triad are called refined FLD projections because, as I mentioned, this is a form of a refined FLD. They are refined FLD projections, and they are used very much by Sentient Trader creating projections, much more than Sentient Trader uses the concept of health. Callum asked earlier, does that mean that Sentient Trader thinks that the market is going to be higher in 2010 than in, or at least 2012 than 2010, or whatever his question was? And I said no, because it uses channels very little, but it does use triads and refined FLD projections very much. And and if you have a look at your analysis summary panel, and you have a look at your if you have a look at your projections and your projection targets, you will see things like refined FLD projection created on the 10th of September, projecting a price fall to 1100 and all that kind of business. Okay, so you can read all about it there. That is what refined FLD projections are the triad lines projecting forward. I see several comments there. Jim Tillman uses a cluster of MA intersections focal points. That's right. I am familiar with Jim Tillman's work. Not very familiar, but I am slightly familiar with it, and I believe he does some things like that. And it's a similar thing to Andrew's pitchfork, yes. And it comes back to what I was saying right at the beginning, which is that cycle work in the markets is iterative. And you use many different pieces of evidence of cyclic action in the market, and you combine them to produce a composite picture. So I think in summarizing today, because I'm going to wrap up this discussion of how Sentient Trader brings material from Hurst's Profit Magic of Stock Transaction Timing book and combines it with the more advanced material that he published in his Cycles course and puts it together into Sentient Trader. I'd like to say this, if you read the Profit Magic of Stock Transaction Timing book and you loved it, as most people do, then you really should get your hands on the Cycles course. The Cycles course, many people have described as a cathartic moment. It changes their lives. The Profit Magic book is good, but the Cycles course presents the information that truly gives you the insight into the markets. Profit Magic hints at how you can do it by using things like the triad, things like nested channels. It hints at it and describes very tantalizing pictures. But it wasn't satisfying on its own, if you like. Having read the Profit Magic book myself, and I know I'm joined by goodness knows how many thousands of people around the world who read the book, found themselves slightly disappointed because it opens the golden gate to working with cyclic analysis in the markets, and it shows you how amazingly powerful and profitable it can be. But it doesn't provide the key to sort of open those gates beyond that level. Whereas the Cycles course, I'm getting a bit ethereal here, I know, but the Cycles course goes the whole way and shows you exactly point by point how to do it, and it certainly changed my life and changed my trading from being, let's face it, random at best, into being a very well structured and a consistent process in my life. It stopped being a gamble and it started being a serious endeavor. So I would really recommend that. However, when I built Sentient Trader, my first priority was to get everything in the Cycles course in there, and so that of course I have done. But I didn't let go of the things that Hurst introduced in his Profit Magic Stock Transaction Timing book, and those, in particular, the nested channels and the triad. Those elements are still, as you've seen, I hope today, included in the software and used by the software. You can plot them for yourself. You can plot your channels, and you can also you can plot all manner of triads and see and explore the concepts of half span moving average and full span moving average even further. And you can use the sort of powerful concepts combined in Sentient Trader to make trading decisions. Of course, when you start working in Sentient Trader, you want to do everything on automatic, and that's fine. Sentient Trader does it all automatically. It includes channels to the extent that it thinks is important in terms of refining the analysis, and it includes triads in creating projections that it does use to make trading decisions. So I think that wraps up. What I wanted to get through. So thank you very much for joining me, everybody. I'm going to keep responding to questions for as long as there are questions. Don't forget, today's our last day. We're running the first time offer, and we're not likely. You're not likely to get a 20% discount again in the near future. So, of course, there will be future offers, I'm sure, but take advantage of the first time offer now by sending Paul Johnson a private message. And let me have a look at some of those chat messages. And Sentient Trader users, those of you who are already working with the software, please get involved in our Sentient Trader online chat room. I'm very excited about it. I'd love to chat there, even if all we're doing is talking about what our plans are for the weekend. It's a really great environment for us to get together and chat about ideas and so on. A question from Stuart: could I go over the triads for the nesting of channels below the 18-month due at the end of the year? Yes. Okay. Okay. If I understood that correctly. Okay, so first of all, okay, so well, let's have a look at the triads. I'll just keep talking and the nesting of cycles. Okay. Right. I'm just going to keep talking and sort of explore these ideas a little bit further. I've also, is Jose with us today? If he is, I want to answer a question that he asked last week. Yes, I see he's there. Okay, I'm going to answer a question that Jose brought up at the end of the session. All right, so let's talk about going into the 18-month trough. Stuart asked a question. Let's talk about the 18-month trough, which we are expecting at the end of this year, early 2012. So let me turn off the channels. Let me turn off the triad. Let me give us a bit of perspective. Okay, here we go. Here you can see The phasing analysis that I expect most of you are familiar with. We've been talking about it for a long time. It positions an 18-month trough in July of 2010. That's what this diamond means over here. And that next 18-month trough is expected at this circle over here. And if I turn on my semicircles, you can see the semicircles coming down here as well. So you can see that at the moment that is expected in 91 days' time, 27th of December 2011. And so that's when the next 18-month trough is due, according to the phasing analysis. According to this phasing analysis, and the first thing to bear in mind is that everything's based on a phasing analysis. According to this phasing analysis, the last trough of the next cycle down, the 40-week trough, was over here on the 17th of March, and the next trough is due very much at about the same time, of course, because it's synchronous with the trough of the 27th of December, and that is due on the 17th of December. And so on. The 20-day cycle is due on the in 89 bars time on the 25th of December on Christmas Day. So somewhere around about that time, within that period, we're expecting a trough of the 18-month cycle. And according to this analysis, let me not talk about that. Okay, so we're expecting a trough of the 18-month cycle. Now, so of course we're expecting the market to move down towards that trough. So let's have a look at what our channels say about that. And generally with channels,